We are Gold Ivy.
Our mission is to empower you to own and unleash your truth.
Stories of resiliency are gold, and ivy grows in hard places.
Those hard places are what creates space for light to shine through.
You decide what works for your daily life and how to transform our lessons into your gold.
This is Ivy Unleashed,
a Gold Ivy production.
Welcome back to the Ivy Unleashed podcast. Today is a fun day. We have a very fun episode. Last minute planned. We decided to write down our top 10 together. So each of us, our top 5 reasons, things that give us courage to live boldly, to take risks, because we've been taking a lot of risks lately. And we feel like if you were inside our brain and you knew these reasons, it would be helpful for you. So we're going to share them.
Yeah, and I don't know what, Brooke, I can maybe guess, but I'm excited to hear what you wrote down, and I'm excited to share what I wrote down, and I think they probably won't be a big surprise to either of us, but I think too, talking through what gets you in this frame of mind, what gets you in this stage of life where you feel like, I don't care what anybody thinks, I'm going for it, because that's where I'm at, where I'm like, this makes me feel like me. This makes me feel on fire. And I don't care what you think or say, actually. Like I used to be like, well, it's a business called Gold Ivy Health Co. And what we're trying to do, it's like, nope, we're doing it and it's helping. And the only reason it's going well is because we believe in what we're saying and doing and stepping into this and taking the risk and unapologetically going for it.
Yeah. And it's given us a lot of confidence. Like it is true. The confidence comes after you put yourself out there. So if you're listening to this and you need a little perspective shift, you feel like you're in a rut, you need some confidence, you need to feel on fire, we gonna deliver.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. You want to go first for the first one or me?
You can go.
Okay. Well, my first reason I live boldly is death. Shocker. I know. I think about death all the time. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I used to like tell myself, oh, I'm so dark and I'm so dreary. But it's the opposite. It creates light in my life. It creates the ability to take a risk knowing time is limited. There is going to be an end date of my life. And when I actually go there and think about it, and it can be scary, that's where the gifts come, where it's like, whoa, this problem isn't really that big of a deal. Whoa, it's not worth it to make somebody feel bad. Whoa, could I just decide on how I want to make the most of this day or shift my perspective so that I'm not dwelling in this negative mind space? What do I got to do to get out of it? Because these days are limited. They are numbered.
And you've also lost a lot of people at a young age, which showed you and allowed you to have this perspective to quickly tap into that.
And I think so. I lost 2 friends within 4 or 5 months when I was a junior in high school. So that's what Brooke's referring to. One, she was on my cross country team, and the other one was my neighbor. And we grew up for summers together. And so they both hit home. But I also think since then, like everybody loses people throughout life. But I think when your friend loses their parent or your friend loses their uncle, I really go there with them. I sit with them in it. And I think, what if that was my mom? You know, and I feel it. Like I take the moment to understand that time will come. And I know everybody has complicated relationships with family members, and that can be a tricky thing to do sometimes. But maybe it's thinking about someone that you love that much, that how do I want my time to be with them? How can I act from a place of integrity and feel like I gave that relationship what I really wanted? So sometimes anxiety can come with it of thinking like, I better say goodbye because what if they get on that plane? Like it can go to some places that can be unhealthy sometimes. And I legit have had therapy to help me with that because I do worry about death a lot. But I think the empowerment comes from knowing, understanding, and reminding yourself that time is limited. So it helps me be like, why not? Let's go. Let's do it.
Well, and for me, my number one is death too. And you're talking a lot about other people dying, right? Losing time with them. And I think about that also. And what if it's me? Right? With my health journey, I would think, I don't want to live my limited time on this earth sick. Like this is not how my story ends. And that gave me so much motivation to keep searching, keep fighting, keep being healthy and doing the things and making the decisions I needed to feel good, because time is limited. And so what if I don't wake up tomorrow? What if this is my last chance? Like how quickly life can be taken from you. It's so precious. And it's a constant bringing your mind back to remember that. I think whenever I'm in a rut, something that always helps me is remembering that of my time is limited. What shift do I need to make here mentally to think about it? And I always come back to Ian's alive. Like that is my grounding thought. And I think it's powerful for everyone to have that of what's that thought that you can immediately think, and it brings you back in the moment of like, okay, this isn't that big of a deal. It'll be okay. And death, for me, that's it.
Mm-hmm. So you think that about Ian?
Today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Every episode of Ivy Unleashed is dedicated to empowering you to take ownership of your health. And what it really comes down to is prioritizing your mental health.
We've both seen the beauty and growth that therapy can bring and are thrilled to partner with BetterHelp to allow you the opportunity to feel heard and seen by a professional. The National Alliance on Mental Health reports that 155 million people live in a designated mental health professional shortage area, and BetterHelp is working to close that gap.
I've personally used BetterHelp and loved it because it was all online, making it super convenient. The biggest piece for me was how affordable it is. I was able to choose the therapist that met my needs. I came in with wanting to work on childhood trauma and anxiety, and it was unbelievable to see how many options I had with all the different backgrounds of therapists.
With BetterHelp, you have access to a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness. And sometimes we can't see our own patterns and behaviors until we talk them out and get an unbiased perspective.
It's really nice to have someone who doesn't know you and has the professional background to help you thrive in your daily life. It has made the world of a difference with every relationship in my life, including the one with myself.
To get started, all you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire about your needs and preferences and choose your therapist out of the options they give you. You can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. Also, you can switch therapists at no additional charge until you find the right fit for you.
The best investment you can make is in yourself. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/goldivy. That's betterhelp.com/goldivy.
Take the first step to inner peace and freedom today. And now back to the show.
I think about other people. I think about Ian. I think about myself. I think death, whatever way you want to twist it, is a powerful tool to use.
I love that idea too because, it's like me, I'm saying you have like this agency over how you feel. And sometimes you don't feel good. And sometimes that messes with your mental health. And so I think that's almost like an extra battle to think about. I don't want to live my life like this. How much agency do I have over how I feel when you are having to go to the doctor and be put on medications and those types of things? Like that could be an extra mind game on top of a mind game.
It is. It's the dance between, okay, my pain is valid and it's my pain. And also there are people that have it way worse. That perspective shift always has helped me and still does, of thinking of little kids going through cancer treatment. Like, okay, my tummy troubles and fighting off this yeast overgrowth is nothing compared to what some people deal with. And that can be tricky too, right? Because you're downplaying and you're dismissing your pain. But if it's allowing you this mindset shift of, okay, it's going to be okay. It's tapping you into a better mindset, which we know our mind and our body are connected. That helps with healing. And so it's all perspective.
Yeah, and that's an important balance because you need to validate how you're feeling. It's your truth. And so if you're not feeling great, you can't be like, well, someone else is, like you said, it's that dance of validating but not staying stuck. Right.
And I think time is limited. Right? Thinking about death, that helps me take bold action. And that leads to my second point, which is regret. Like, what if I don't? Like, what am I missing out on? I think of Ed Milet a lot. He has this quote in this story he always says of, he gets to heaven and God's like, here's what your life could have been. And like thinking about that is freaky. It can get you in a mindset just like a tunnel.
Yeah.
But it's also cool to think like, yeah, okay, like life is short. Take the damn risk.
Yeah.
What if it does work out?
Yeah, you were just talking about a coworker too that was like, well, what if, back in my 20s, I really would have poured into like my education or my career. And that's a tricky dance too, because it's like that butterfly effect, like what would be. And I think of Rene Rodriguez too, because when people are deciding whether or not to hire him, they'll be like, how much does it cost? And he's like, what's the cost of not having me? What's the cost of not chasing this dream? What are you giving up? What feelings, sensations, experiences, relationships are you potentially going to have the regret of not pursuing?
And we talked about that when I was debating quitting my corporate job. Like, what am I leaving on the table by not having more time to pour into Gold Ivy? Like, what would shift if I had more time available to pursue my dreams?
Yeah. And I think you can ask yourself that about anything of what's been calling me and I'm not pursuing it. Like, am I going to regret not just trying, not just reading a book about it, taking a class about it, following someone that why do I admire them so much? What could be a small step so that, once I do 5 years from now, I don't regret, I was thinking about this in 2024. Why didn't I just try it then? Where could I be now? And so you don't want to live in regret, but I do think it's a powerful perspective shift.
Well, using that, but having the mentality of what if this works out? What if this was meant to be? I heard something and I had to put it on Instagram the other day of worrying is really praying for what you don't want. And I'm like, ooh, yes. Like, it's a simple shift of what if this happens? What if this doesn't work out too? What if it does? Like, you catch yourself having those thoughts. I do all the time. And then I'm like, what if it does? And just leave it at that. Like, you notice how much lighter it feels in your body. And it's a practice. I train myself to think that way. And I do every day. Like, it's a constant battle. Your brain is looking for the threat. And so it's normal to have those thoughts. But to have that quick switch, that's where the power is.
Catch yourself in that and flip it. That is such a powerful place to live from. Of what if it does? Instead of that negative spiral you can go in. And we get in that, but we don't even realize we're doing it, And so
it's also fun. Like we've been talking a lot lately about this entrepreneurial game. Like, it's really just a game. We're just making things up as we go based on what feels right and aligned for us. And we can view it as this is so scary and hard. And what if it doesn't work out? Or like, ooh, okay, what can we do here? What fun can we have? When you live your life from a place of that, of what do we want this to look like? It's way more empowering.
Yeah. Well, my second one has to do with just being a model, like being an example of, when you think about someone you love so much and you think about them being a kid and what you would want for them. So think of Ian and think about which I know he has wonderful parents, but like thinking of, if it was an imaginary person, what would you want them to do for him? You would want them to make him feel like he could do whatever he wanted and he could take risks and he could be himself and you wouldn't have to change, And so I think about that with my kids. Like, I love them so much. And I'm like, all I want is for them to feel like they can live boldly. Like, they can say what's on their heart and not worry about what anybody thinks. And the only way for me to be that influence for them is to live it. I can say it, but I need to live it. And so for me, that's what I want to do, is for them to be like, oh yeah, my mom, when I was a kid, she was building a business and she'd get up before the sun came up and she'd be present with me, but man, we'd have to leave because she would be recording with people and taking these risks and got us to go on some vacations and make memories together. And I just want them to think of me as that person that stepped into my power and paved a way for them to feel like they could do the same thing.
Yeah. It's like, who do you want to be a role model for? For you, it's your kids. And someday, right, I hope that's me. But I also wrote down being an example, which is similar to what you're saying. And for me, it's serving. It's sharing my story, being vulnerable. And it's not about me, it's about them. Who needs to hear what I have to say? Who needs me to talk about what I'm going through so that it inspires them to keep going? And whenever I'm feeling stuck or in a negative mindset, that helps shift me out of it. It's not about me. It's about them.
And what you're saying is risky.
Mm-hmm.
You are living in America and you've had an experience where a lot of people would just be quiet about it because it's, doctors are powerful people. And in some respects, you've been quieted by them. And to go against the grain and be like, I'm trying some stuff that might seem weird or it's so vulnerable, the things you talk about that you've had to try so that you can be okay. And I think that's risky. I think that's why things go viral for you is because you're saying it and it's a risk, but it's paying off.
It is. And it's also me serving others, but in return, it's helping me. And I always talk about when I'm on other people's podcasts, how we started Ivy Unleashed because of what I was going through. And I knew that I couldn't be the only one. And by starting this podcast, we had on Emily Field, who introduced me to a functional nutritionist who I worked with, who got me to get a GI map test, which really solved my medical mystery. And so if I wouldn't have put myself in this position to start a podcast to share, I wouldn't have gotten answers. Right? So it all comes back around, but it came from, I'm not doing this to help myself. I'm doing it to help others. And in return, it helped me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's risky. And I think we live in this space where we're constantly sharing everything. And I think now it's like our normal. Mm-hmm. But to have our listeners think of like, what if you were sharing all the things that are going on in your mind, what you're learning in therapy, these challenges you have in your life, it's why we're doing what we're doing. And maybe the listener isn't doing that. But it's a risky thing to do, and you do get backlash, and you do get comments, and you do get opinions, and it's really important to stand in your truth and take that bold risk. Mm-hmm. It is worth it. I truly believe it is.
Yeah.
My next one is all around value, and this can be tricky because it's that like do, like I'm valuable if I do enough type of thing. But for me, I wrote down, I consider myself valuable if I've inspired others, and that doesn't come from sitting around. So me being valuable in my mind is that I'm taking action on these things that are calling me. I'm providing value, not by sitting around and just kind of letting those things go that are kind of calling me. I think in my faith, I believe I'm providing value back to the world by taking the gifts that I've been given and then trying to figure out a way to package it in a way that helps people and provides value. Mm-hmm. To me, I think sitting on those gifts is a disservice to me, to God, to the world. I think if you know who you are, if you have that understanding of the gifts you've been given, I think it's your job to give that value back. It's like a cycle. It's like, you're constantly gifted a beautiful thought. Share it with someone. Mm-hmm. You're gifted this perspective. How can it be helpful to others? Or how can you reflect on it and decide what to do with it in a way that can provide more value?
So you feel like when you have this calling, this gift for anyone listening, that's your sign you can act boldly. Yes. Gives you the courage and the confidence to act boldly because you know you were given this gift from a higher power.
Yes.
And it's your job to unleash it.
I think it's selfish to hold it in. I think, like for me, anybody listening, think of your gifts. Think of like things that if someone were to say like, man, you're so good at that, or wow, I love that thing about you that I just love so much is this. When I think about those things, I feel like I've taken them and the way that I'm gifting mine. Let's do a few examples. One could be running. Mm-hmm. It sounds weird, but it's something I'm really good at. It's really easy for me. And so I've helped others cross finish lines and have this new belief in themselves that they can do the same, right? When it comes to the podcast, I feel like I've been gifted the ability and the boldness and the confidence to say, I don't know everything and I'm learning and let's learn together. I feel like that's valuable. Mm-hmm. And so I think those are what it is for me. It might be just the gift of you sharing your gratitude for things or your understanding of life and sharing it with your children. It could be anything, but I just feel like holding that in, the gifts, I think one is understanding what they are, and two is gifting it back to someone and putting it into the world so that it's not just like staying with you. Does that make sense?
It's in service of others. When you know that you're doing it for others, it's easier to take those risks.
And I think you get gifted more. Like, I think more things come in, like, because I've opened this channel of, you know, finding guests and getting them on their podcast, I feel like more keep coming that are like, whoa, people would love that and love that. And it's like this abundance mentality. It's like, I recognize the gift. I'm grateful for the gift. And then I share the gift. It's like, that could be.
Like, you're doing good with the gift, so let's keep gifting you.
Yes. Yeah. And so I would encourage you to think about what your gifts are. And it's not selfish to think about it. It's important to recognize what you're good at, because those things that come easy to you, they don't to others. As much as you might not think you're super unique or special or gifted, you are. You are the only you. And so you've got to figure out what that is and feel so good about it, that you are this one unique being. And it doesn't mean it has to be a business, but it's a gift to recognize it in yourself so that you can share it.
And sometimes you need to ask other people. You know, like, I always think too, like, what are my gifts? I've been doing this devotional by Eric Thomas, and it has you write out your gifts. And it was right before we had Carrie Kenzie come to record. And I'm like, guys, I don't know, like, what are my gifts? And she's like, you are the gift. Your energy is the gift. And I'm like, okay, but what do I do with that? You know, like, I think it's okay to ask other people, like, what do you see in me that I can't see in myself? Because sometimes we are in our own way.
Yeah, that is such a great journal prompt too, because when I was on Carrie Kenzie's podcast, she said, what do you think your biggest gift is? And if someone were to say to you, what do you think your biggest gift is? You know, you might be busy right now running around, but when you get a minute, sit down and really think, like, what are some of my biggest gifts? What would I say? What I think is, I had to pause. I had to think too.
What'd you say?
I said, I feel like my gift is that people feel like they can open up about their life with me. And I'm like, I don't know if it's because I'm so out there and weird that, like, they see it in me, so they feel like they can do it. What that gift is, if it's, I can put it in words, I don't know. If it's like a warmth, if it's a reflection because I'm doing it that they can do. I'm like, I don't know. I can't analyze it to put it in these like beautiful words, but I would say it has something to do with feeling like people can share with me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like providing a safe space. Like, if I were to tell you what I think your gifts are, like, what comes easy to you? Yes, running, but also allowing people to feel seen and heard, and boosting people up, like elevating them. Like, every time we have a guest on, you do such a beautiful job of making them feel seen and heard and valuable. And so I think what you're saying too is, when people feel safe enough to come talk to you, it's because you help them see the value in what they're going through and what they're capable of.
Yeah.
Call it a coach, call it whatever, but and that is hard to put in words.
It is. But thank you for trying. And that made me feel great. I feel like your gift so much is what you just said, which is energy, which is so, like, there's no coincidences, because that is what you help people cultivate. You take the gift of what you've been handed with your health that is really tricky and hard. Here I go. But you're taking that gift, which some could see as like a shitty gift, okay? But you've taken it and recognize that it's depleting your energy physically, and you have transformed it into something you can gift others. And as much as, and I think the tricky part people think too is like, oh, you have so much energy, Brooke. And it's like, well, that's your gift, is you help people have more energy because you've stepped into your power. You've recognized that you don't have to stay with this circumstance. You're in charge of your energy, and you're in charge of what you want that to look like. And you are tenacious. You go after any solution you need to have or find to get that energy, because you realize how important it is. And so you've helped so many people with the gift of this knowing. And my energy is always better when I'm with you. Our guest energy is always like, we get hired to go in rooms because of that energy. Like, it's really a beautiful thing that I feel like you've really taken that and like alchemized it into something that is really powerful.
Which, as you're saying that, what I'm thinking is when people talk about like what comes natural to you, what comes easy to you, that's your gift. For me, energy, that's not the case. It hasn't always been the case. I think from a young age, I was very charismatic, and I still am, and had this energy and loved to dance. And then it was ripped away from me. And when you have these things ripped away from you, it shows you how much more valuable, right? It's like you want what you can't have. And also when you don't have it, you're like, oh, you realize how important it is.
You just brought up a good point though, because you are really charismatic and really funny. And I think that energy, even if your body feels like shit, you still have it. So it's like, it never really goes away. Like your gift, like the stuff that comes out of your mouth, we just laugh all the time. I feel like people know how funny you are because we have a podcast, but you know, the people that don't know you, they're really surprised by how funny you are, because I think they see this pretty young person and you're really witty and goofy, and the stuff that comes out of your mouth sometimes is the funniest shit I've ever heard in
Should
my life.
I be a comedian? You know, that's funny. Ian and I started living together in July.
And he's funny too.
He's funny. In July, we started living together, and like a few months had passed and we were out with friends, and I asked him in front of all of our friends, and maybe I've shared this on the podcast already, but I said, what was the biggest thing that surprised you since living together? Thinking it'd be like, you know, how clean you are, how organized you are, how you do my laundry. And he's like, how funny you are. I was like, oh. Like that's such a
even surprised.
Such a good compliment. Yeah.
That's so funny.
So sometimes your gifts, like you have to ask other people, because I wouldn't say that.
It's important to tell your people.
Yeah.
And it goes back to death. Like if you think something about the person you love, tell them. If you recognize a gift in them, or you're surprised by something, or like maybe you need some love, so ask them like, you know, I'll tell Justin like, I'm having a rough day. I need some words. You know, he'll be like, wow, he'll give me 3 compliments. And I'm like, you know what? I'm so glad I asked, because I really needed that. I feel so much better.
Yeah.
And I always want him to do the same. You know, like today I said to him, like, whenever you want to let me know it's bothering you, I'm here. Like I can feel your energy. I can tell something's off. And I feel like he really needed me to say that. You know, you recognize something in the person you love, whether it's good or off or whatever. I think it's super important to address it. Like time's limited. Make them feel good. Make them feel seen, heard while they're here.
Yeah. And you can tell when that energy's off. And when you give someone permission to shift their energy, like that is such a gift, right? Saying, okay, I see something's bothering you. I'm open. I'm here when you want to talk about it. Or your energy's on fire and I'm loving it, because that gives you more energy.
And I used to be like, are we going to not talk about it? You know, and just like that energy is not great. It's more like, I'm here. Like we all have our moments. I'm here whenever you want to talk about it, because it might not be right now. It might even be, I might not even want to hear right now, because it might be extra ugly, because like maybe you need a minute.
Yeah. Well, and all these things we're saying, right? These perspective shifts, these mindsets of death. It's like, it could be so dark, or you could flip it and have it be light. And you can see that, you can feel that energy. You know, one of my last ones I wrote down was, Dre, tell the people as fast as you can why Move with Gold Ivy is the last mind-body fitness program they'll ever have to buy, and how women are finally getting the transformation they're looking for.
I love a challenge. Let's go. 2 big things. 1, Move provides a fun atmosphere to work out in that actually gets you excited to show up and follow through with your goals. Not only is there an element of fun, but we've carefully curated a program that makes it as easy as possible for women to take care of themselves. And 2, a Move membership addresses every aspect of your health, mind and body. Our Move members are getting the physical transformation they've been hoping for and feeling like they've finally found the group that motivates them on a daily basis. What did I miss?
As a Move member, you receive a weekly workout plan, weekly live or Zoom workouts, an on-demand workout library, transformational quarterly reset challenges, monthly coaching calls, monthly masterminds with health experts, and a private group of motivated members for support and accountability.
It's ready for you when you're ready to boost your metabolism, confidence, and feel your absolute best. Join Move or learn more by clicking the link in the show notes. clicking the link in our bio on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, or by messaging us on any social channel at Gold Ivy Health Co.
It's your time. Move for your health, move for your confidence, move for your mental clarity, move with Gold Ivy. The thrill of what's possible. And that goes back to the what if it does work out? Like the thrill, the excitement, the game, that is light energy. It's not constrictive.
That's so funny because mine is why not? Like why not?
Bish, why not?
Why not? Like
we're throwing proposals out there like, why not?
Why not? Why wouldn't we share our story? Why wouldn't we? Why can't it be me? Like for me, when I see people I'm admiring now, I feel not closer to what they have because of success. I feel closer to what they have because I recognize all they did was why not? All they did was think, why not me? If she can do it, why can't I do it? And it's not going to look the same way. It's not going to have the same route. But if I really want that thing, like, why not? Why can't I find my route to that feeling that I'm really aiming for? Like for me, it's just so much about travel and adventure. And it's like, why can't I see every part of this planet? I want to so bad. I want to be everywhere. Why not? Why not keep moving in that direction, figuring out the next move, and keeping my eye on the prize of wanting those adventures? Like, why shove that somewhere and hide it? Why not let my people know that's what I'm trying to do? The more it's out there, the more opportunities that will arise.
I think of that, okay, for us in this season, success, and for me, it looks like having my health, having my peace, traveling, doing things that excite me, being on my own time. And I was talking on Carrie Kenzie's podcast, again, I'm going to reference it, of this idea of success, right? You see, is it money? Is it fame? Like, what is it? And all of these people who, quote unquote, have it, did they prioritize their health, or did they put their health on the back burner so they could get these things? And so I want to challenge us, and something we're both doing is we're doing it with our health. Like we're having it be an and. We have what we want, and we also have our health.
Yeah. And relationships. I think a lot of the people that you might look up to that might have the fame or whatever, they've lost a lot of people have been through a divorce, or a lot of people have lost a lot of friendships. I'm not saying that won't, happen to people. It's a part of life. But for Brooke and I, our relationships are everything. Our health is everything. That just comes first. And we have seen by interacting with a lot of people in this space, in business, that it is not the case. And we refuse to flip that script. We refuse to not treat people with kindness and respect their time, and make sure our relationships are okay first. Like it just comes, like life comes first, health comes first. You have nothing without those things, those relationships and your health. And then business is important. And maybe it doesn't go as fast as like Ed Milet's, but like he talks constantly about how he's trying to fix his relationship with his kids now that they're adults, because he missed out on so much when they were kids, and
he's forced to take time off because of his health.
Yes.
Which I'm very glad that he's sharing it. Like I think it's so important. You have this platform, talk about it. And he also, he talks a lot about faith. And for me, that's my last point, is faith. It's on my heart for a reason. Why can't I have both? Have my health and help people feel really good and be known for that?
I think it's patience in that. Like faith, to me, like you get taught patience with faith, because you have faith and you want things and you're asking for them. But I think God makes you wait till his timing's right. And that's not easy all the time, and, Ed, some people could say, oh, he got fame fast. He didn't. He worked so hard. He was like homeless. There's some, like, just using him as an example of like, why can't I have? It's like, you can, but he also worked his butt off, and having faith and trusting in the process of, as long as I think you are being honest, being truthful, living in integrity, taking care of yourself, understanding your life is a gift, I think God will provide the things you're asking for, and it might not look exactly the way that you want. And there's going to be so many lessons along the way, but I think having faith is trusting that I'm going to keep tapping into that truth and living from a place of integrity in my relationships, in how I act, doing my absolute best, knowing I'm going to fail, knowing I'm going to be learning these lessons along the way. It's tricky, but like having faith is crucial. It is like, it wasn't on my list, but damn, that is a great point.
You know, it's like, Jesus, take the wheel. Take a bold action, take the risk. And if the risk is in alignment with what feels important to you, it allows you to be a greater version of you, help others, have faith that it'll work out. And if it doesn't, you'll figure it out. Like, it wasn't meant to work out. What's that quote that rejection is God's protection? There's so many different variations of that. I think when you are struggling or you take that risk and you're like, yeah, having that quote go through your mind, that mindset is so, so important.
Yeah. And we talked about that the last time you and I had an episode, is like, it's all just learning. Like if you take the shame, the blame, the guilt of how things didn't go, because like taking a risk, being bold, it requires you to have faith and know that things aren't always going to go perfectly. They just don't. Like, that's just not life. And it's just you're going to learn something from everything. But the biggest thing we want you to learn is that it matters what you're being called to. It matters that you're thinking about taking this risk. And it matters who's in your circle to help support you.
I was just going to say, not on the list, but your support.
But you've got to have your own back first, because your support system doesn't know what's calling you. You've got to tell the people in your life something that you're thinking about. If it matters to you, it's going to matter to them. And if it doesn't, then they're not the right people to have in your circle.
Yeah. I mean, support could, yes, be your people, but it could also be, what podcasts are you listening to? What books are you reading? You know, how are you constructing that mindset where you can keep taking these risks that are going to have big rewards?
To close this out, my last thing that helps me take bold action is having confidence in my authenticity. Because I have tried to do what other people are doing. I've tried to take advice, motherhood advice, and try and do the things the way people does not work. It doesn't. It feels uneasy. It feels like unrest. It feels like resentment. It feels like, why doesn't this work for me this way? Like, they like that, you know? It's just like, I should like that. Like, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. What does work is tapping into those gifts, understanding that I can be confident in the things that come naturally to me or that really intrigue me. Maybe it's you aren't great at it, but you always think about it and you want to just do that thing imperfectly. And it brings you joy to be like goofy trying the thing. And if it gives you unrest and uneasiness to try and do things the way everybody else is doing it, then try it your own way. Take the risk. Figure out what that looks like for you. Is it trying a new recipe? Is it trying a new activity? Is it reading a book about something that keeps intriguing you? Like, just take the first couple steps, because you get confidence in that. Because what you'll see is it's going to light you up. And you're going to be like, I know it's weird that I like to run 26.2 marathon or 26.2 miles all the time and people think I'm crazy. But you know what? It ends up being something that's like pretty fun for me to talk about. And I light up about it and I draw on those people, and I love that. And it's a rare thing, but for me, it might be weird to other people, but like, because I love it, that energy is contagious. And then it builds confidence in me to like, okay, what else do I love?
Yeah. You're not faking it.
Right.
It's what interests me and not having any judgment. Like trusting that little voice, that little intuition that's like, ooh, do that. It's fun. It's exciting.
Yeah.
What could this turn into? And even if it doesn't turn into anything, like I think I'm in this stage right now where I want to normalize just like having random hobbies. Like I have this recent interest in pickleball, and Ian's like, you never want to pickleball. I'm like, I know, but like it could be fun. You know, like having things that aren't work related, you're not trying to master and get so good at, but it's just the art of like having fun.
Yeah. See what it can turn into. I love that. And I think, like you said, it's where confidence comes from. It's like, it comes after. It comes after you test out taking the risk. after you be bold in something, you'll gain more confidence. And it's tough because you can't see it or feel it.
And it's uncomfortable. Yeah. Like Lori Harder had a reel the other day that was like, no one talks about how uncomfortable you feel when you're pursuing your dreams. And we've said it before. Like I've said to you, do you think I'm just going to be uncomfortable the rest of my life? Because you do keep taking these risks. If you are a go-getter, if you want big things, if you want to reach your dreams, like you keep stepping out of your comfort zone, and you have to, but that shit's uncomfortable. And so how do we find the peace and the calm as we do that, whether it's meditation or your morning routine, or you unplug and you have certain hours at night that are just for you and you're thinking about what makes you happy and at peace. I think you have to carve that time out, because what I'm realizing being an entrepreneur and chasing my dreams is like, I'm really uncomfortable, and that shit's kind of stirring up my nervous system, and that's not good for my healing. Mm-hmm. And so this dance of, okay, my mornings and laughing with Ian or laughing with you, like cherishing these moments where it feels good, it feels calm, and then also like taking the risk, like quitting your corporate job.
It's like pulling back the slingshot, right? It's like fuel up the tank with the laughter and the joy and the presence and the calm, so that you can go, that you can be bold. It's really important. And we're here for you. Yeah. And I would just say too, like Brooke said, the books you're reading, the podcast you're listening to, as much as we might be a good influence for you on that, like sometimes you need to turn it off. You need the silence. You need to be able to hear yourself, because I think we have great tips and we're talking about our life, but this is ultimately about your life and what's calling you. And you've got to quiet the noise so you can hear yourself.
Yeah. But don't quiet us too long, because we've got some good stuff coming your way. Like Andrew said, we're here for you. We want to know what's working well for you, what you're finding. We don't know everything, and we value what's working for you. So let us know. Leave a comment. Please reach out. We want to hear from you.
Yes. And your piece of gold from us truly is be bold. Keep learning about yourself, aligning with the highest version you can find, and unapologetically going after what is calling you. This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold. We want to thank you and encourage you to celebrate yourself for taking the time to learn and get inspired in your one beautiful life. And if this podcast means something to you, it would mean so much to us if you'd be willing to take 30 seconds to help support our mission to keep bringing you inspiring stories and guests.
First, following the podcast is important because it helps you never miss an episode. To do this, just go to the Ivy Unleashed podcast show page on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and then just tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner or click on follow.
While you're there, if you'd be so kind to give us a 5-star rating and review and share your favorite episode with a friend, we'd be so grateful for your support.
We are thrilled you're here and are so happy that you're taking time to prioritize your wellness, self-discovery, and growth with us.